Hey guys, what's up? Though this is not the usual time, like most of the time I'm into. Why? Because probably you do know that Delhi is reeling under a different situation. It's a social situation. Anyway, so why I'm here? I wanted to do a couple of topic from biomolecules. So that this chapter can be completed as soon as possible. So what I'm going to do, I will be doing glycogen right now in a short lecture, and by doing so the carbohydrate part will come to an end, and then we will start with the protein. So soon the chapter is going to be over, so you will have every topic just like some other chapter. About glycogen, there are some couple of things, but let me give you all of them in a very a short way. First thing is that glycogen is called animal starch. Remember, glycogen is called animal starch. Why? Because animals, storage their extra amount of carbohydrate in the form of glycogen. And it's also called animal starch because it is structurally similar to starch that is prepared by the plants. So due to structural similarity, I'm coming to that how this similarity is going to be. But due to structural similarity, glycogen is also called animal starch. So let me write them one by one so that you can also make a copy of that. So like I said, the first thing about glycogen is that it's called animal starch. It's called animal starch. But in case you need to make a copy for that, then you can write structurally similar to starch. Similar to starch. So that's the reason glycogen is also called animal starch. Why? Because it has a structural similarity with the starch produced by the plant. Second thing about glycogen is that it's a polysaccharide. It's a polysaccharide. Third is that consists of, just pay attention here, it consists of amylopectin, which is a biomolecule of alpha D glucose, a biomolecule of alpha D glucose, which I will show you in the coming section how the structure develops. So what that mean, this very third point and the first point, they're interrelated, and it say that glycogen is also called animal starch. It's because its structure is similar to that of starch. What that similarity is, if you remember from the previous lecture, starch basically consists of two units, amylose and amylopectin. Although these both are made up of alpha D glucose. So basically glycogen and starch, they both are made up of alpha D glucose, but starch has two units. Starch is divided in two units called amylose and amylopectin. However, this glycogen has a similar structure to that of the amylopectin, but you can differentiate. It's because this glycogen has amylopectin with much more higher number of branches. So in simple way, the amylopectin in the glycogen is highly branched as compared to the starch, right? So let me write this again. Fourth very important thing is that it's amylopectin is highly branched, How? As compared to as compared to, as compared to amylopectin in starch. So that's the difference here, is that this glycogen is also made up of amylopectin, but there the branching is slightly less when you talk about the starch, but in case of glycogen, the amylopectin is highly, or it is more branched, right? So this is the next thing. Now I want to make you go a couple of another very important thing about glycogen, and is that it is stored in our liver, fat and brain. So stored in liver, muscles and brain. So these three parts of our body, that liver, muscles and brain, they actually store a huge amount of glycogen. Now the question is, what is the need of the glycogen, and how actually it is prepared there. So this information is basically coming from the bio part, but this is something you can easily understand, so that's why I'm letting you know. Actually, when you are taking food, and if the food amount or the glucose amount in your body, glucose, I'm talking about the glucose. So if you are taking too much of glucose in your body, if you are a healthy person, what happens? Your liver convert the glucose into glycogen. That extra amount of glucose you are taking inside, it is converted into glycogen by the liver, and this process is called glyconeogenesis, right? Let me repeat back. This is something biology, part here. Most of you know, in case you do not. When you have extra amount of glucose in your body, then your liver convert the glucose into glycogen by a process called glyconeogenesis. But when you are starving, or when your body is not having sufficient food going from outside, which means you are starving, then liver break down this glycogen. Let me repeat back. Liver break down the glycogen to produce alpha D glucose. And that's how our body is able to obtain energy even when we are starving, right? So extra amount of glucose is converted into glycogen, but when there is a need of glucose, it is again broken down. Glycogen is again broken down into glucose, and this is done by the liver, right? So that's why liver is also one of the very important organ in our body. So this was something from the biological part. So like I was saying, glycogen is also made up of alpha D glucose, and it is organized in the form of amylopectin. The only difference between starch amylopectin and glycogen amylopectin is that amylopectin in the glycogen is highly branched. So this is going to be like a recap of the starch, because there is nothing different. The only difference I just told you is that it is highly branched, but by structure you won't be able to find out that there are more branches actually, because that's something you can study only when you do something at molecular level, not at this level. So somehow, if you remember, we had glucose structure or something like this. A glucose has a structure something like this. This is your first carbon, this is second, third, fourth, fifth, and there you have your 6 carbon CH2OH, right? Okay, and this was your first, so this is going to be H here, and this is going to be OH. And since I am drawing the structure for alpha D glucose, this is your alpha D glucose, right? This one is also OH, this is a H here. In case you find this is something you already know, you can fast forward it. And this is H here and OH inside, and the last one right here remaining is OH and H. So this is one of the alpha D glucose. Now the thing is, I'm drawing another glucose molecule, alpha D glucose, which looks like this one, but you have an oxygen right here. So this is the kind of structure I'm drawing again, similar to this one, this first one. So there you have H here and there you have OH. Now again you have OH here and H out inside. Now this is your H and this is your OH, right? Okay, so again you have OH and H. Now if you remember, let me complete this one, because I'm almost like CH2OH and this is the H. So these are two actually alpha D glucose I just made you, right? So what happened here, one of the glucose and or two adjacent glucose actually make a glycosidic bond. If you remember, they make a glycosidic bond using an oxygen, and by doing so they release a water molecule. So this is a a straight chain structure, but branching, if you remember, how this branching happens to be, I am drawing here another molecule of glucose. I am drawing another molecule of glucose, and it looks like this one. So this is your CH2 here. Pay attention, this is your CH2H here, and rest of the things are just like the other two. So this is your 6 carbon. So what happened here? There actually a bond is formed involving this oxygen. So there is the branching arising, but during this branching again a water molecule is released. So this is the structure that glycogen has. This is the structure that starch has. The only difference is that the branching here between the first and sixth. Remember the branching taking place at first and the sixth position. So I'm going to repeat a little bit from the start. That is, starch has a amylose, which is a straight chain, but amylopectin is not only straight chain, but it has also some branches. The straight chain is formed by involving first and fourth carbon of two adjacent glucose, but the branching is developed involving first and sixth carbon of two adjacent glucose, like that, right? But in the glycogen, this branching is way more than the starch, right? So these are some of the facts I wanted to relate to you about the glycogen, and you just check it on your own and let me know how good or bad this was. With this I must wind this here. I'll say thanks for watching, take care, and see you in the next lecture.